And away we go. It is the BCJ Podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends at the Holy Grail. If you are downtown, going to a Reds game, out and about, stop by and visit our friends at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of. And, of course, while you're there, make sure you get yourself a Cincy Light. Every Cincy Light purchase, the Holy Grail, our good friends Jimmy and Don will go above and beyond and donate an additional 50 cents per beer back in to the Cincy Reigns NIL Collective. All right, Dave, let's get this show on the road. It is not an overly eventful week on the Bearcat front, but eventful enough. We have new heights tomorrow. We also have spring game on Saturday. Did you tell your kid you're not coming to a soccer game yet, or?
I have not. We haven't decided on all that yet, but
we'll be okay.
We're still.
We'll have five of us there. So
thinking about all that.
All right, I won't be mad at you if you go watch soccer.
Well, I didn't think you would. It's a spring game.
I just want to let you know. Don't have to stress about me.
Believe me, I wasn't.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Just want to double check. But we've got that Saturday. A little bit of news today on the basketball transfer portal, and just a general, pretty solid week of news and information. So let's get to it, David. We will start on the basketball side with the news that broke today. Usually we try to go news first, that being Sage Tolentino entering the transfer portal, redshirt freshman. It's unfortunate because he had an interesting path to Cincinnati. With bigs, it's always more difficult, especially with 7-footers. It's always more difficult than any other spot to kind of predict their trajectory, just because they take a little bit longer to develop and grow into their body. But he decided a path to more minutes was probably the most eventful thing for him. I'm sure it was a very difficult decision for Sage. He is a kid that has thoroughly enjoyed the Cincinnati experience. If there's a chance if you went to a women's game or a volleyball game or a tennis match, or it didn't matter, there's a pretty good chance you might see Sage there. So it always sucks to see a kid that has embraced UC and the program and the lifestyle and all of that, to see them move on. But nothing but great things to say for Sage. Got to know him well. Obviously, if you remember, he committed on the air with me, filling in for Mo back a couple years ago when he picked Cincinnati. If you remember the story, his family came from Hawaii during COVID. They moved to Hamilton. Their food truck was regularly in and around events on campus. Loved getting to know his dad and the people that were around him. So it sucks to see, but absolutely wish nothing but the best for Sage.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, any guy that comes to UC, we don't want to necessarily see them transfer out, and you hit it on the head. Bigs are, I'm not going to say a challenge, but just the developmental rate is unpredictable. And through 2 years, and it's not saying that he won't turn into a very fine college basketball player, but through 2 years he wasn't able to crack any aspect of the rotation. And moving into his third year, I'm not sure there was a big jump on the horizon, at least on this roster. And and it's just kind of hard reality of this stuff anymore. I mean, we talked about it. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. Just you just don't see a ton of that progressive development, progressive movement up from in a minutes standpoint anymore. You know, there's always going to be some here and there, but I know the graphic was used a ton over the week of the Final Four and whatnot, just showing the makeup of these rosters anymore. And NC State, I don't think they had a single starter that was.
They were all I think that almost the entire roster were transfers.
Is an original, right? An original recruit, and I think that's just. And like you said, you never know. Maybe things click at a later time, but he has to look out for himself and look at the situation and go, how am I really truly going to develop if I can't really get on the floor? And UC has to look at it in the same sense of we need, obviously not all 13 guys are going to play a ton of minutes, but in the situation they're in now, where now they truly do have one quote unquote big on the roster, you have to supplement with guys that, again, what we said last week, a lot more knowns.
I mean, Dave, the funny part is, a year ago, they've got 4 7-footers or, Jamil was like 6'11 and a half or so. Like they got 4 monsters and one.
real quick. I mean, what did we say last week? We're going to potentially go the opposite direction. This year It was maybe too many bigs. Next year it's
maybe none. It's just going to be Aziz. That's the only big guy.
Just going to play the old 4 out, 1 in, and then when he needs a break, we're just going to go 5 out.
Yeah, run the old 5 out. Just pass around the perimeter and
driving
ball
kick.
Screen and fire threes.
Mm-hmm.
So it does. Obviously, when you lose 3 big guys, that makes big guy very much a necessity in the transfer portal. And I don't know if they were able to hold on one of Vic and Jamil, and you had Aziz and then one of those two, you're probably not looking for a 5. But without any of those guys, you have to go out and get somebody that can, Aziz is very good. Aziz is not a guy that I think his body is going to hold up if you play him 32 minutes a game.
He struggled to hold up this year.
Well, that's because people kept shoving him in the back when he was trying to jump.
That's what I mean. Like, you never know how things are going to go. And, big guys do seem to have more health issues, so to speak. So, they're going to have to, whether they go for similar guys or kind of take the route that some other teams take, where you get, more of the 6'8", 6'9" guy that can also give you minutes at the 4. But I guess now, though, they probably do at least need one true.
You have to get a 5.
True backup 5. And then another position could be used in that 4 or 5-ish swing type, where a guy could give you minutes at both. But but again, now you have even more of a clear understanding to sell to that person of like, hey, we got nobody else. You're going to play, and you might, depending on how things go, you might end up playing a lot.
I mean, a whole lot.
So,
there's going to be minimum 15 to 20 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Because I think Aziz is probably best in that 22 to 25 minute a game range, if not even 20 to 22, somewhere in there. So there's going to be minutes. Santos Cyril, that was a Mike Roberts recruit. He was the one that had the connection to the kid. So I don't foresee that going forward. And I would assume Coach Cal has a pretty good line on a lot of these kids joining him in Fayetteville.
If he's getting more NIL money in Fayetteville than he had in Lexington, I don't understand why any of these kids would go anywhere else.
Right. You're still going to be coached by the same guy, and you might get paid more.
Exactly. So, but yeah, so we'll see. I mean, there's guys entering constantly, so we'll see how that shakes out. They have to, but I'm still on camp buckets. Hashtag team buckets.
Always. Is it because they can't make it in the Big 12 or that we have some internal issues coaching big men? I don't see any internal issues coaching big men. What were the internal issues coaching big men? That Vic got in a slump, or that Jamil never really hit his stride? I think more importantly, you have a starting center now. Guess what? Guys want to start. They want to play. So if they feel like they can go somewhere else and play more than they're playing at your school, that's an option now that there is the portal era.
Yeah, and I don't say this to disparage or anything, but like, I'm not sure this, speaking to Sage specifically, like, to me personally, like, this isn't really a big surprise. Like, I think it was always he's a 7-footer, let's see what we can do. It wasn't he's a 7-footer and we think there's like some serious talent bubbling at the surface.
Well, it's also like they were just getting here. He was the first commit.
Right. Yeah.
And guess what? I think he probably would have been okay in the American. Like, I think there would have probably been some challenges, like, as he got up to speed.
I think he would have been playing his sophomore year in the American.
I agree.
How much? I mean, that's a pointless conversation to have. I mean, who the hell knows? But I think it's fair to say that, yes, in the American as a sophomore, he probably would have been playing.
Yeah. So that's part of it, and Vic was recruited long before Wes got here. Also to the American. As we, I guess, are finding out with Jamil, that guy loves the American Conference.
I mean, how many American Conference teams can he play for?
I was hoping like Rice, North Texas, like he's the new ones. You gotta spread some love to the new guys, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's going to South Florida, had a very nice year, and he's going to South Florida as all of their good players are leaving.
Yeah. Matt, this just is not, I mean, we heard this last year constantly about Rayvon. Rayvon's not going anywhere. If you recruit top 50 kids and don't play them, they will transfer. McKinley doesn't have to get 20 minutes a game, but if he sits the bench next year behind two guys, he's gone before his sophomore year. It's just not true.
I mean, I guess he doesn't have to earn it. You just have to give him minutes, regardless of the fact of whether they're ready to play or not, because you're afraid that they might transfer. Like, coaches aren't giving anyone minutes that aren't going to go out there and help them win games, regardless of where they were recruited. So I don't really understand.
If Jizzle didn't play this year, he'd be gone.
He earned the minutes that he played.
Right. Like, it's a dumb argument. Like, might they? Guess what? You might play them 35 minutes a game, and they still transfer. That's reality now. You cannot let your players and the transfer portal cause you to coach in fear or cause you to do things that don't make any damn sense.
You'll get fired because you won't have won enough games.
Right. Players can't hold you hostage. I
gotta give this
stuff.
Got to give this freshman 15 minutes a game or he might transfer. Well, giving him 15 minutes a game might cost you your job.
Right. If he plays 15 minutes and he was only ready for 5 or 0, that's what, a couple hundred minutes in the Big 12 over what, like, that can lose you games. Think about how many close games there are.
Okay.
Then stop, Matt. It's a bad argument. There's no need to continue doubling down. Then stop recruiting top 50 kids because they'll be on the bench developing for another team. Okay.
Then you just go recruit. You just go get the portal kids that have been developed by another program just the same way.
Like if they earn the minutes, they will play. It's that simple. You don't give them minutes because you're afraid to lose them.
I mean, most smart fans would be able to see right through that. They'd be like, why is this kid playing? He shouldn't be out there.
Right.
He's not very good yet. I mean, I feel like it's this, if it would have happened this year with Rayvon.
Right.
If Rayvon
theory had any validity,
Rayvon backup. Well, no, I'm saying if he was if he was like the backup, whatever, and he's out there playing a bunch of minutes, and we're all like, why is Wes playing Rayvon? He doesn't seem ready to contribute. And then we come on here and go, well, he's got to play him, or else he might transfer. I feel like a lot of people would be like, well, then let him transfer because he's not ready to play, and we're losing basketball games.
Right.
Not solely because of him.
No, I know what you're saying. It's because you're making decisions that aren't based on winning basketball games. What you're saying, Matt, is sacrifice basketball games so that guys might not enter the transfer portal. That's silly. You understand how silly that sounds, right?
Did you know there's a spring football game Saturday?
I've heard.
That's what we call in the business a segue.
Yeah, well, let's transfer portal a little bit. We get a little bit more.
I'm kidding.
I know. Get away.
I'm kidding.
Getting away from Sage in particular.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, Matt, it's a bad take.
That's
what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. I'm saying my opinion of your take is it's not a good take. You can have it. You're entitled to it. I just don't think it's a good take. We do have a little bit of information coming in. Things are a little slow during the dead period, as you'd expect. Like I said, I didn't say you're dumb. I said it's a bad take. Stop. We're trying to move on. Connor Hickman is expected in for an official visit on Monday. My understanding is he will be at Indiana on Sunday and then come to Cincinnati on Monday. And I don't know of anything scheduled specifically for after that.
Yeah.
So I guess we just wait and see if there's maybe a third visit scheduled. And if not, everything I've heard has indicated that he would like to get this done sooner rather than later.
Yeah. From my vantage point, it kind of seems like you have a pre-existing relationship with at least one person on the UC staff, and you're from Bloomington. Is a third option really going to come in and like totally unseat those two options? Yeah, that's the part it feels like from someone that just follows it very much from a distance and doesn't really know a ton about the kid. Like, you're transferring, does he have 1 year left?
He's got 1 year left, yeah.
So it's like you either go play for your hometown team or you go play for someone that you already have played for. I'm not sure, Seems pretty cut and dry, but obviously it never is in in this crazy landscape.
Right. So that's kind of the first domino in all of this. My guess is Cincinnati's in a really good spot here. Indiana, obviously, look, it's a massive land grant state school. The kid is from Bloomington. If you go there, like outside of basketball, let's think about it outside of basketball.
Right.
If you go there, like handle a lot of things for the rest of your life. But my understanding is that staff has not fostered relationships in the state all that well.
Yeah.
And that makes it tough on, trying not even just as high school kids, but then circling back around to the transfer portal. These things are about relationships. And if you don't have good relationships, it doesn't matter if the kid's from that town or not.
Right.
You're making things a little more difficult on yourself than they need to be. So I do think Nebraska would be the third one to watch out for. But I get the sense that might be a little far from home.
Yeah.
For what he's looking for his senior year. Like, I know Hickman's family all came in for the NIT game.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed the city. So, what about Marquez Warwick? I believe I saw he is visiting Missouri this weekend. I think Cincinnati will continue to, be involved and be interested. We'll see where things stand probably when he gets back from the Missouri visit and the Hickman visit is over. What both sides decide is next. I get the sense the Missourian is in a very different situation than Cincinnati, David.
Yeah, one team didn't win a conference game this year, and another one won more than one.
Missouri is probably going to be in a bit of flux, if you will, and going to probably be a bit more aggressive, trying to add a lot of bodies in the portal, because I would assume their roster is not going to look very similar to how it looked last year. So depends on what, how much do they show him? Like, we're going to bring you in and put the ball in your hand. You're going to be our starting point guard.
Right.
That part will be interesting, because obviously I'm going to go out on a limb, Dave. I don't believe, this is hot take, so everybody be ready. I don't believe Cincinnati is in the market for a starting point guard this offseason.
I think I can agree there. I feel pretty comfortable saying that.
I don't hot take much. I'm going out on a limb on that one.
Is it? Do you put any validity into like the timing of the visits, or is that just because of Hickman going in a little bit earlier and having the pre-existing relationship? Or would a fan be able to look at it and go, well, if they must like him more, they're having him come in first.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything too deep to read into it at this point. Right. Like I said, the portal's a different animal, because isn't work more of a combo. I think Cincinnati sees him like that. He played point guard at NKU most of the time and had the ball in his hands, a significant amount, even if he wasn't, quote unquote, the point guard. I would assume he is looking for a place where he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's kind of a volume guy. Not kind of a volume guy. He is a volume guy. He scored 2,000 points. You don't do that without volume. But like I said, like, Missouri's probably going to be looking for a lot of things. They've got a lot more openings than Cincinnati has at the top of their roster. Wes has done a pretty good job with the top of this roster. Does that mean it doesn't need support and help and maybe an addition or two? No, of course not. I just don't know that, you're going to have the ability to tell a guy with a straight face, you're going to have the ball in your hands the majority of the time, when you've also got Jizzle and Day and Dan and CMOS. Like, there's going to be a lot of sharing the ball involved here. That's all I was kind of getting at with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, combo for us, but like you said, could be totally different for somebody else.
Yeah.
In another place. Anything else worth sharing, or should we just say bearcatjournal.com?
I'll give them one. Hey, Tonk, thanks, brother. Good to see you. I know we're not, when you do it at a set time, that can conflict with people's schedules, but we appreciate you and all of the folks that look. A lot more people watch us on replay than watch us live. We have a great live audience. The chat is always great, but it's not always convenient for everybody to watch live. So we appreciate everybody that watches on tape, and we appreciate that, Tonk. I don't know about Missouri's NIL laws, whatever rules, regulations.
They have some interesting rules that help from a high school standpoint.
Okay. They allow high school kids to.
I'm not sure there's any difference for when you're a college transfer.
Wouldn't that be wild if the state could just pay the NIL? The state is awarding the Cincinnati NIL $3 million for football and $1 million this year for basketball. Thank you to the state of Ohio.
I think it helps them, and high school kids can sign NIL deals, which then kind of help, gives in-state Missouri a bit of a leg up initially.
Right. If we're going to run Jizzle and Day out there together, got to get another guy like Warwick. I don't know that they're going to necessarily. I think in a perfect world, you go get a starting 2-guard, and then those two stay as your point guards. You get a starting 2-guard, or you bring in a guy that, if you can get a Hickman, that guy and Hickman are going to compete for that spot off the ball. Obviously, we saw this year you can play Jizzle and Day together, but I think I am very much in favor of having those two man the point guard position, and then if you can sneak some minutes off the ball for one of them and play them together for a couple stretches a game, I think that's probably my preferred method there, Dave.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah. Look, I would have no problem with landing Warwick. I know he had a bad year shooting the 3 this year. I think some of that was Sam Vinson not being healthy and able to play for NKU for a lot of the year. So that put even more weight on Warwick's back. But if you look at his previous seasons, he was where you want a guy like him to be, in that 35, 36% range for a guy that takes a lot of shots.
Yeah.
The only other name go ahead.
No, so go ahead. I'll get to mine after that.
The only other name I got some info on today was Purdue transfer Mason Gillis went into the portal today. I believe Cincinnati has reached out. So we'll see kind of what develops from there. Guy that can really shoot the 3 and really defend. He was Purdue's starter all the way up until this year when he was supplanted by Trey Kaufman-Renn. But he still played quite a bit. I think he can help you at the 4 and potentially give you some minutes if you need him at the 3. But would kind of be in a John Newman type mold, but a better shooter.
He actually played more minutes this year than last year per game.
Yeah.
I mean, 1.2.
Yeah. He was basically the same guy. He just didn't start this year.
He's a 22-minute a game guy his entire career. From his freshman year on. Basically 22 minutes
22 minutes a game. And he would slot right in here for 22 to 25 minutes a game. So I think that's an interesting one. I think that's that kind of maybe that 3-and-D guy that can play 4 and be your backup for CMOS there, and also earn you some minutes at the 3. If Dan plays the 3, you'll have Raybon there, but you could also, get Gillis a couple minutes there.
He would make me feel more comfortable just from an overall roster construction standpoint on the rebounding and defensive side, because
yes,
CMOS was better, but without John, and I'm not sure what I think Josh took some steps defensively and rebounding, but I'd still like a much more seasoned guy that I know, like, okay, he's going to come in. He knows he has a very, very defined role. We have a very clear expectation, and he's going to kind of do some of that dirty work for us that we're going to miss from Newman, where we don't miss as much of John scoring because we feel like Jizzle, Dan, CMOS will elevate even more from where they were this year. But we would significantly miss some of that other stuff that he did. So I would be in favor of that.
Yeah. I think you'd be culturally a really good fit too. He sounds like, a great kid. If you talk to anybody around the Purdue program, they have nothing but great things to say about him. And guess what, Dave? I like guys that have been on teams that win a lot.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's everybody's like that. They want you to be involved in that first wave of the portal. Guess what, Dave? A lot of those guys didn't win at all, ever. Like, they've never won. So yeah, maybe they scored 18 points a game, but they were on a team that went, 10 and 21.
And I just always, we've seen it for how long? I'm always going to be a little hesitant to believe that dude from the MEAC who averaged 17 is just going to show up in the Big 12 and that's going to translate. And a guy from Purdue that's done it for 4 years, I have a feeling that would probably translate to the Big 12.
Well, yeah, what that comes down to is just your affinity for risk aversion, right? Like, maybe that guy in the CAA does end up being a 13-point-a-night guy in the Big 12. But the odds are better that a guy coming from a team that just played 22 minutes a night for a team that played for a title and was one of the best teams in the country all year, that guy's probably going to have a higher hit rate than hoping a guard can jump up 2 or 3 levels,
right,
and help you.
I think overall, I'm just kind of fascinated by. Now what they have 3 spots. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just we know that they're interested in Hickman, who is a first off the bench type player.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't count out him fighting his way into the starting lineup, but that would mean he played well, like that he earned it.
But on April 10th, I'm not going to predict but so they're interested in him. They're obviously interested in Mason Gillis. They need another true 5. This idea of a starting 2, that is the thing that interests me the most, because that is like that to me is kind of like the not deal breaker, not the make or break move, but does that come to fruition? And if it doesn't, does Hickman kind of become that, and then you have more of another role guy, and then are we kind of missing a little bit of pop if that doesn't come to fruition? I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, the other thing I've talked about a bunch, Dave, is people have to realize that the scholarship number doesn't matter anymore.
Right. No, I'm not looking at it from that. I'm just looking at it from if we're really out there looking for a 25 to 28 minute starting level shooter scorer.
Yeah.
I'm I'm like, hell yeah, I want that. But how does that materialize, knowing that we're interested in Hickman, we're interested in Gillis, we're interested in Warwick, we need a 5, like that push-pull of like, where does that all shake out, to me is interesting. And then what does that mean for next year?
Yeah. That's why there's guys making 7 figures upstairs, 6 and 7 figures. Got to figure that stuff out.
That's right.
You know your roster was close, but not good enough. And Dave, here's the other thing. Like, they are well aware that they were not far off last year. But I don't think this staff's aspiration is to sneak into the tournament.
Like, yeah, we almost made it, and now we made it, and we're in Dayton. Or we're, an 11 seed, and we were the last team to not be in Dayton.
Right. Like, I don't, so I think they're looking at this saying, now we know what it takes to kind of, I'm not saying win the Big 12, but I'm saying finish, in that upper half and put yourself in a position where, you get to wear white in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Maybe you get to wear white in the second round of the NCAA tournament. But that generally doesn't happen if you're wearing black in the first round.
No.
So, that part of it is going to be interesting as we go over these next couple weeks. I think it's important for people to remember that this isn't kind of the sprint that some make it out to be. When you go back and look last year, when commitments started happening, they didn't have their first commitment by today last year. And I believe the championship was played a week earlier on the calendar, or a couple days earlier on the calendar last year. So everything started a couple days earlier. Yeah. So there is a long way to go. The one thing that is different this year is it's 15 days shorter. So last year it went into the middle of May. This year, May 1st, the portal closes. And I guess if you're a grad transfer or if your coach leaves, those are the only exceptions that allow you to jump in the portal after May 1st. So
I mean, it's a delicate balance, because it's not like high school recruiting. Everybody that's available.
Right.
So you can make a decision on a guy and be like, yeah, we like him, but we don't love him. So we'll just go, this is like, yeah, we like him, but we'd like to get better, but better may never become available. And then you take him, and then better becomes available 2 days later. And
today? I think four of the top 5, like, in terms of one of the metrics, like 4 of the top 5 transfers entered the portal today.
Oh, okay.
So, there's 2,000 kids in the portal, and there's still a bunch of good ones that are not there yet.
Are we showing any interest in my guy Tobe Awaka? Can you dig on Tobe for me?
I can check. That is not a name that has come up.
He would fit Chef's Kiss perfectly.
What do you have, like 4 points a game last year?
Yes, but he's the only reason that they had a chance. One of the only reasons they had a chance to beat Purdue. He actually played defense on Zach Edey, unlike Tennessee's other post guy. But no, he would fit it. I mean, he's probably looking for more minutes, and that's why he's potentially leaving. But he would fit wonderfully into that 4 or 5 thing we were talking about, and getting
if
those
they went
20
the combo route,
getting those 20, because he is a little bit shorter, but he's super strong, super pet, like would be a perfect fit.
Gotcha. I have not heard his name come up yet, but I do not hear all of them instantly. Sometimes, and it's the portal, man. Sometimes you can be working on actually talking to a kid for days before you talk to him, because you're talking to the agent, or you're talking to the dad.
He's a Brooklyn kid. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if Ricky P's already got his meat hooks in him.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that. Anybody that has an area code that's within shouting distance of St. John's. Good old. If he doesn't end up at Kentucky, wouldn't that be great?
He transferred from Tennessee to Kentucky.
No.
Or
If
Rick
Pitino ended up at Kentucky.
Yeah. I said that to my buddies like right away. I was like, Kentucky coach Rick Pitino.
It would be so funny. So funny. But all right. I don't have really anything else on the portal front. Do you?
No.
All right. That brings us to the Turtles Brew timestamp. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, bourbon-infused sweet tea. It is available in lemonade, tea, strawberry, mint, cherry, lime, raspberry, peach, orange, vanilla. There's over 100 locations in Cincinnati, and the pouches are live, Dave.
Okay.
12-ounce packs, 5-pack or individual. They are available in stores now. So keep an eye out for the Turtles Brew on the go. If you want to look like you're having an adult high C or Capri Sun, as opposed to carrying around, a half a gallon of Turtles Brew.
Sweet tea.
So yeah, a sweet tea.
Spiked tea.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. And then that will also, well, we'll talk about New Heights first, and then we'll get into spring game. It has been moved inside, David. Unfortunately, it would have been cool at Nippert Stadium, no doubt. I think it's going to be unbelievable inside Fifth Third Arena.
Yeah, I mean, I think it to me it's, I don't know. I think it'll be better. I don't know. Based on
the
what
sound
Coach
system is
Satterfield
closer,
said today,
what he say? I missed that. He was on with Mo, wasn't he?
He was. He threw out a number of like 12,000 people.
I know it's pretty close to, like, they had to stop selling tickets because they've sold enough tickets to fill Fifth Third Arena.
Yeah.
So I think there's some VIP seating still available, but the general admission seating is closed. So I mean, it's gonna be great to have those guys back in town. Joey B will be there. Orlando Brown will be there. At least one, and I think 2. I think they said 4 guests was the plan.
Butch Jones, maybe? Maybe he's a surprise third guest.
I did hear this would be great because this would be maybe one of the best interviews of all time. There's a rumor Derek Wolfe is going to be in town for alumni weekend. I don't know if he's going to be in town tomorrow or if this is even an option, but I've heard like golf outing and potentially like the captain's breakfast in the spring game, Derek Wolfe could be in town. Could you imagine the stories that would get told on that podcast if Derek Wolfe was in town?
Probably some good ones.
Probably some that would be worth every penny of the admission if you get Derek Wolfe up there and talking freely.
Yeah. He's an interesting cat. If you haven't heard his Joe Rogan podcast, that was a good one. But it would be told that one was very much about like hunting and him carrying like a 175-pound panther down a mountain. But it would be much different. But yes, he's a fun character. It'll be, I mean, I think Burrow is always interesting because it feels like he is more forthcoming in these types of interviews when he's being interviewed or having conversations with what I would call peers than in a true on like media setting.
Yes.
So we'll see what he has to say. Orlando Brown is he's a funny cat. the Bengals have him doing a bunch of different stuff on their social platforms, and he's fun, so that should be good. He
played with Travis.
Played with Travis. He'll let the language fly. I'm not sure Joe will, but Orlando certainly will say what is on his mind. So it'll be interesting to see. Do we know, like, are they having, is it 4 guests? Is it like, is there a set number? Or are they just kind of announcing them like day by day, or the next ones will now be surprises because it's tomorrow?
Yeah.
I would guess
they're gonna. No, I don't. Like that's all been the production company. Like even when Burrow was announced, all I got was we hear they're announcing a guest today at some point.
Yeah.
Like they didn't, they're not letting the cat out of the bag and risking, that things get leaked before their schedule, or before, how they want it done. So I mean, now here's the difference, Dave. You don't have to sell tickets tomorrow.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe if you're trying to get a heavy walk up and you got a big name, bang, you drop that big name. But if not, I mean, might as well surprise the people that are there.
Yeah.
John wants to know if BCJ is going to be present at the pod tomorrow. John, do you think my daughter would let me live if we weren't there tomorrow? You've been around long enough, John. You've been around long enough, John. You know that would be dangerous for my health and safety if I was not there with Kelsey tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll be there. I believe Keegan will be there, and hopefully have Reagan there to shoot some pics and kind of capture the scene for you. No video. We're not allowed to shoot video.
Not surprised.
Stu said, I can relate, Chad.
Yeah.
I know, buddy. I know. Just in case, right? Have to go just in case.
When does Stu get like the kickback on going to all of the Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift adjacent things?
I don't know. That's a good question. Stu, what does she have to agree to a certain number of events every year that you're allowed to go to that are very expensive?
Like usually it's like a 1-for-1, like, yeah, honey, I'll go with you to this, but then, I'm going to go to this. And if you want to go, great. If not, it would also be cool, so.
Stu, you want to know how many trips Dave has been on since the start of 2024?
Yeah. I got some backlogs I'm going to have to make up.
You know how many trips Dave is going to get to go on the rest of 2024?
Yeah. Starting with like a wedding in 2 weeks, and then a wedding in July. I have no issues going to, and I have no issues going in another week. But yeah,
I get to do things I want in 2072.
Hey, you should get a TeamTicker and start a countdown clock for when that buzzer sounds for you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's a great segue, Dave.
Thank you.
Let's bring up our good friends at TeamTicker. The one-of-a-kind sports sign for Bearcat fans. It's a high-tech retro display that provides daily updates of the latest news, stats, schedules, betting odds, and much more. No subscription required. If you're looking for the perfect addition to your man cave, your dorm room, your apartment, a gift for that special Bearcat fan, go to teamticker.com and pick up your TeamTicker today. I've got the Seapaw. Aaron's got the Bearcat. Also, if you're married or related to fans at Michigan State or Penn State or West Virginia, they have team tickers for all 3 of those schools as well. Teamticker.com. Enter promo code BCJ, and you get $50 off of your purchase. We are just cruising right along, Dave.
We are.
This is your favorite kind of podcast.
I'm liking it. I mean, we have newsy things, but we don't really have like
Chatting things.
Right. I'm good with that. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. Like, we don't have to talk for the sake of talking.
What have we always said on this podcast? The content determines the length. If we have a lot to talk about, we'll talk for a pretty long time. If we have talked about what we want to talk about and we have reached the end of our conversation, we don't talk, we end the show. We just usually talk about a lot of things because there's a lot to talk about. I do, after spring football, I want to get to baseball and a couple other things at the end. But spring game, David, you apparently will not be there. If you were going to give me, you might not be there. I don't know for sure. You haven't informed us. If you were going to give me a list of things that you wanted to see from the spring game, what would that list look like?
Well, funny you should ask, because you guys talked about a lot of them on Monday night.
We can talk about them again.
I would say the things that I would be focusing the majority of my attention on would be, one, the defensive backfield, just because of how poor I believe everyone honestly thinks they played last year. I mean, I think Scott even said it on the radio today. Like, we brought in 11 new defensive backs because we weren't very good last year. And so that, the newness of it, how that aligns with the new defense, in a new formation, especially on the back end. So that would be kind of the first thing I'd be looking at. The second thing I would be looking at would be the defensive line, probably, and the edge guys in particular. Again, not a highlight of last year's team. They brought in some reinforcements. They have some reinforcements returning. How has that progressed? Now, that will also still need to be taken with a bit of a grain of salt, because it is very likely that the two guys that would be starting at guard probably aren't going to be playing in the spring game. So, what Dante Corleone does, how much he actually plays, probably, again, left to be seen. But just those guys in general, Micah Coleman, Jalen Hunt, I think, it sounds like he's had a pretty good spring. Who else besides, with Jared Bartlett playing linebacker now, who else is kind of in position to put pressure on the quarterback?
A name that I have noticed a little bit more, and I don't think maybe we've written about him or enough about him, is Darian Varner.
Yeah, I noticed he had at least one spot at the practice that I was at that I noticed on a run play, kind of chasing somebody down to the sideline for either no gain or potentially a loss. So yeah, he would certainly be someone that I would be focusing on. And then if I'm going on the offensive side, quarterback is too easy of a response, so I'm going to go somewhere else. And just I'm still intrigued by and interested to see more from what we end up doing at tight end. One, because it was not really a focal point of the offense last year for potentially a variety of reasons. And two, because I feel like there's the potential for 4, maybe 5 guys to the offensive snaps this year. And if you're going to have 4 or 5 guys see offensive snaps, I would think that would be more of a focus of your passing attack. Or else why bring in 2 freshmen? Why, have them all kind of playing a good amount in the spring? Now, obviously, spring doesn't necessarily dictate who gets snaps in the fall, but you guys have talked about it. I saw it when I was there. they're not just like throwaway guys, at least in the spring, where it's, oh yeah, we'll throw a little outlet here or a little check down there if we have to. I mean, it was definitely seemed to be more of the offense. So if you're going to have 5 guys that might see the field, then I would hope that you have a plan to incorporate them into the structure of your passing game.
I would also say on that, Dave, I think they view Joe Royer as a legitimate high-level Big 12 starting tight end.
Well, from what I've seen and heard so far, I wouldn't disagree.
Right. I'm not saying I'm not having issue with that. I'm saying their belief is going into this season, they are going to have one of the better starting tight ends in the Big 12. Did I say the best? No. Did I say elite? No. But they feel like he is a guy that slots into, the position of reliable, high-end pass-catching tight end in this offense. And I don't know that even if they had a guy like that last year, and we saw at times Shaman make plays, but they just didn't have an offense that attacked the middle of the field.
Right.
Just didn't. Get into a million reasons why, and then we will be here for 2 hours.
Yeah. So I mean,
but we've already discussed all of those reasons. So I think they love Belgian.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're starting to, Singletary has already seen action in this offense. And then Grover and Sahersky Grover is massive. You always wonder, like, when you see a kid that looks like that, when we would see him at games and be like, my God, that kid, like, looks the part as well as anybody they brought in a while. And how does it translate when they put the pads on? And everybody comes up to, like, his ear hole, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, like,
he's a big kid.
I don't remember, and I'm sure you would know much more just because of the relationship, but like he's Josh Wiley's size, but like 40 pounds bigger.
He's
when he was a freshman.
Large human. Yeah, he is a large human.
Like, obviously Josh filled out, and they were like, Josh was a 6'6", 6'7", 210, 215 type kid as a freshman.
Yeah, something like that. This kid's like 230,
like 240. Yeah, 240, 245. I mean, let's see. I got my handy dandy little roster right next to me. Let's see what they say. 6'6", 250.
Okay, even bigger than I mean, he's big.
So yeah, I mean, from my seat, I'm like, you better be able to find a way to get that kid involved. Assuming that he has put himself in a position. I mean,
we've seen him elevate himself this spring. Like, you didn't see him much at the beginning of spring. You're starting to see him a lot more consistently. And yeah, it's with the, like with the second group of tight ends or like, whatever. But he has been noticeably, as Sahersky has also, noticeably around the action more often through the back half of camp, which, look, you bring these freshmen in for a reason. Mm-hmm. And if you feel like that's why they come in early, so they can kind of maybe make their case for, I should see some minutes as a freshman.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see, like, especially in a spring game setting where you're going to have so many plays, like
so many players.
how many, like, does the tight end group as a whole, like, when assuming that I don't attend, when I'm reading and watching video and whatever, I'm like, are there, how much time over and over are they being referenced, or is it just like once, twice, 3 times here or there? Which, if that's the case, then it tells me it's not totally much different than last year, but I just don't see that being the case. I just don't understand why you would want to go get a guy like Joe Royer, have 2 guys coming back, plus bring in 2 freshmen if you didn't want to make it a bigger point of your offense because you could have just done the same thing you did last year. You had the two guys, you had a couple walk-ons that were forced into action because of injuries, but to me this says like, no, we feel like it's a valuable part of what we want to be.
Yeah. And it's a matter also of, hey, if you've got a strength, use it. Like if you feel like your tight end room is as good as we think it might be able to be, especially with guys that can catch the football and make plays, use it. Use it regularly. Use it a lot. Use it all the damn time.
Yeah.
I want to say wide receiver, but I don't think we haven't seen Tony Johnson in like 2 weeks. It's nothing major, but again, in spring, they're always going to be extra cautious. He was the one that really, I think, gives this offense a chance to be a lot different on the outside than it was a year ago. Let's be honest, they got very little at that spot opposite Xavier Henderson, and it allowed teams, as the year wore on, they just said, all right, well, we're going to take him away. We're going to play over under. He's not going to be able to hit those digs.
Just think what kind of coverage you can play when one side of the field, you don't really have a threat over there, and you don't really throw the ball in the middle.
Right.
Like
we throw the ball to Xavier Henderson, or we scramble or we run. That was the offense last year for the most part. So I was really looking forward, but Sterling Buckhalter has had a pretty good spring. So, hopefully he is maybe putting himself in a position where he becomes more than just the guy that's behind Xavier Henderson on the boundary.
Maybe becomes a rotation guy.
Or maybe you can play him at the field.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, like he has had a good enough spring where he's giving himself options.
Sure.
As opposed to if he had a quiet spring, we wouldn't be talking about him and we'd just assume he's the backup to Xavier Henderson. Yeah. That's all I was getting at so far. Xavier looks good. It's Xavier. Don't slander his name like that, John. He's been good. Look, when you got a guy that has that kind of size and wheels, and you have a quarterback that can throw a really effective deep ball, those are two pretty good things. We have seen the Sorsby to Henderson connection frequently. I was just looking it up after I said we'll forgive you this time, but with that, there's a big look. For most places, it's not a big deal. Here, it's like Lenny showing up to a summer recruit prospect camp in Xavier basketball shorts.
I remember that.
Somebody's got to go talk to him about that. That can't, no. So yeah, running back will be interesting because it'll be the first time they're really actually live in more of a game setting. I'm guessing again we won't see a ton of Corey Kiner because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But the other three guys have had good springs too. We've seen a little bit of ball security issues on different days between Evan Pryor and Chance Williams, but that's going to happen over the course of 14 practices. The ball's eventually going to come out occasionally. It wasn't like something we saw every day, but
and your I won't call them a bell cow because I think they're the reason they brought in Evan and Chance is to give more of a change of pace. But like Corey's not playing a ton,
right?
So they're getting even more carries than they would normally. So your fumble percentage is going to be much different.
And I mean, so far, I will also say I think Manny Covey has shown the type of things you want to see.
He jumped out a couple times when I was there on a screen pass, I think, and maybe on a run as well.
Yeah. So, you're dealing with three guys that have had a good camp, and then the guy that the most about that hasn't really run the ball a ton.
I would say that too, like when we were talking before about positions, but I think it's not a position, but it's the passing game to the running backs. I mean, when you really look at the offense, kind of like we talked about earlier, when you really look at the offense, the tight ends were very minimally used, and the running backs out of the backfield, outside of some flare passes to Ryan Montgomery and a couple check down screens to Corey Kiner, were non-existent. I mean, Money had 2 touchdowns on him on like alley-oop throws from Emory. So like, does that become more of a point of emphasis? Obviously, you're not going to do everything. So. I do too. You're not going to do everything. You know, you're not going to. You can't become great at one thing if you try to be good at everything. You got it. But those 2 areas too. How does Brandon Sorsby work into that? How does the offensive line work into that?
That's what I was going to just say. Like, I think
is it hard to throw those type of passes when the defense is all standing 7 yards from the line of scrimmage because they're not worried about you doing anything else down the field?
Yeah.
So it's like, we're not going to throw death balls to our running backs, you know, because the linebackers and safeties are going to be there instantly because they're 7-8 yards off the line.
Right. I do think those are balls that Sorsby throws really well from what I've seen of him so far, where he does a nice job getting a little touch on it, leading the running back. One of the worst things you can do on that screen and flare game is have a quarterback that throws the ball even or behind your back.
Yeah.
Because they have to wait for it. And this is a game right now played with men that are very large that run very fast. And if your running back is not on the move when they catch the ball, it doesn't matter what kind of advantage the scheme or the play has created for them. If they have to slow up and turn around or, do that little spin move, how many times when they did try to do that last year, did we see that, like, where they had to turn, spin, catch it like this?
We very rarely see a screen pass where the back catches it and just goes and there's nobody there. It's always like a big play out of the screen game is, on a wide screen play, not like where they let the line suck in, but like on a wide screen play, it's always about making the first guy miss.
Right. And a big part of that is having the ball early.
Right, because
being able to see what's happening.
Because if it's in front of you, you can gauge where the defender is coming from. If I have to stand here and stop and be parallel to the quarterback, I have no chance of being able to set myself up to make a move or anything.
Yeah. You're right, Crypt Keeper. Pickle has made her appearance.
Yeah, she just jumped down to get some food.
I like that she's back involved. Like we had a couple months there where Pickle really wasn't interested in podcasting.
No, she's, weather's getting warmer. Yeah, getting closer to football season.
She's not hibernating as much.
Yeah.
She wants to see what the family is doing. Oh, Dad's podcasting to a bunch of people. Let's go talk.
That's right.
So yeah, those are kind of the main things. I agree. Tackle play on the offensive line, I am still going to be interested in, getting a visualization for how that looks. I have not seen nearly as much of just like unfettered to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Where the play is just kind of, you see the quarterback spiking the ball into the ground as the whistles blow because somebody just came uncontested off the edge to make a play.
Right.
Now they have made a change there on the right side with Tinsley out. Buford has moved to right guard, and we've seen Philip Wilder at right tackle. So that'll be interesting when Tinsley comes back. I would guess there's going to be Buford would have the edge because he's the incumbent, but I think Wilder's making a push there at right tackle, especially like this might be a bad situation for Buford that Tinsley was out. He has to go inside, and now Wilder gets the spring to play right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's a good. I think it's a not a. I won't say good. It's never good when somebody gets hurt, but it potentially. And Wilder did do some stuff last year, and then when they would flip to power, but it's giving them. I mean, that was one of our big questions after the season when we looked at the portal and they decided, whether they decided to or that's just how things happened, that they didn't add any offensive linemen in the portal is okay. So the tackles weren't awesome last year. They're both coming back. But is there anybody on the current roster that can push them, whether it's to start or to offer depth in a situation like we're seeing right now? Because let's be real, like I'm pretty sure the whole offensive line started every game last year, didn't they?
I think so.
I mean, what's the likelihood that happens again? I'm trying to rack my brain real quickly, but
I can't remember if Wilder ever made a start for Buford or if they just during the game.
I think it was just, but nobody missed a game for injury. I don't think is my point. Yeah, like
I can't remember anybody missing a game due to injury.
Okay, so again, what's the likelihood of that happening 2 years in a row?
Yeah, and
if it's one of your tackles, who the hell is going in? Was what our question was last year.
Yeah.
So now if Wilder is, maybe he's not going to unseat him, but he's now at a point where they're like, okay, if anything actually did happen, we don't feel like we're up shit creek, and we can
have another guy we're comfortable with.
Fine. Yeah.
They also, I think, feel really good inside with the progress of Jonathan Harder, who has seen a lot of time at left guard in the place of Luke Kandra. They feel really good about him. I love that Evan Tengestal is now getting a chance to play more center. I know, and they love him.
And he just wants to fight all the time, which I love.
The nicest kid, though. Super nice kid, but you put he's one of those guys you put the pads on. Look, those feisty centers have worked out well for Cincinnati over the years. So yeah, you're developing some of that depth inside. I still think, they want more at tackle. You always want more at tackle. You want 4 or 5 guys that you feel comfortable with. You're happy with 3, but you would like to get that pipeline at tackle a little bit more solidified.
Well, you just like, obviously tackle in the portal. Like, yes, everybody's gonna. If you asked 120 teams, would you take an extra tackle, regardless of whether it's UC, Texas, Ohio State, UConn? They're all gonna say, yeah, sure, give me all the tackles you got.
Right, I'll take all of them.
Can you find someone that has at least played? I don't even know if I necessarily am looking at like the level. Like, have you started multiple games?
Cincinnati's had a lot of success dropping down to lower levels and finding tackles that have played a lot of football.
Starters, all conference players. I mean, where would that? I mean, I don't even remember what year it would be at this point. But where would that team have been if they didn't just pull Dino Boyd out of thin air?
Right. Oh, that season could have been a disaster.
So, yeah, I mean, they're going to look at some offensive linemen, I'm sure of it, whether it's interior, outside. If you've started games, if you're a high-level conference player, wherever you are, like, you just can't have enough depth on the line because 1 or 2 injuries and it could be a disaster.
Completely derail a season if you're
disaster very, very quickly.
Yeah, it can throw a season completely on its ear if you're not ready to have some depth. And one of the things too, man, for me, Coach Cardwell, I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I watching him coach, watching their technique and the way that he teaches and how the kids respond to him. Although there's not a lot of kids in that room. There's a lot of grown-ass, like 22-year-old men in that room.
Yeah, we're still like what 1 year away from like this is the last COVID year, right? Football?
It should be, yeah. I mean, there will be guys that are red shirts or medical. You'll see a couple still around.
I was reading through like Dane Brugler's Beast today got released, his big draft guide. And there's so many dudes that it's like 5th year senior, 6th year senior. This kid was 24 and a half years old already. It's like,
right.
He'll be 30 before his rookie contract is
right. When his rookie contract, he'll turn 29 when his rookie contract is done. Did he go to BYU?
No, these are all forceful. Yeah, so that'll be over soon. So, but yeah, I mean, you can't have enough old veteran dudes on the line. I mean, I like a lot of the young guys, but I don't think you want to have to play them.
You would prefer not to. Sometimes that ends up being the best thing in the long run when you look back 3 years and you're like, oh, this guy had to play, and it turned out he was pretty good. Yeah. But you'd rather not like that. You'd rather not be plan A. Brendan Sorsby. Going into the summer, how important is his success and or struggles? How does that impact your view of him just depending on Saturday? Knowing that he's had a good camp, he's had some really good days. He's had some good days. He's had a couple days that weren't as good. How does that maybe impact your view of him?
Minimally, I guess. I mean, I'll throw out. I'll pretty much throw out the extremes of like if he's awful, I'm probably not gonna like overreact too much. And if he's 23 for 23 for 7 touchdowns, I'm probably not gonna overreact on that end as well. Just because I mean, I love talking football, but I can't put more emphasis on something that I just don't like. It has very little to no bearing. I'm talking spring and spring game in general, like virtually no bearing on the outcome of the 2024 season, unless people get injured.
Right.
So, what an individual player does or doesn't do, I don't know how much. I mean, I know that's not a
damn it, Dave, be more controversial.
I mean, I can't. Like it's I can't. I don't. I just there's when we get to higher ground, I would be much more definitive about things.
Sure.
But March and April, like a new guy coming in, guys in and out of the lineup, guys that we know will be getting 95% of the snaps come September and October are getting 20 to 25% of the snaps right now. Right. Like I just, I think he's good, and I'm excited to see him play. But that was an opinion I had prior to
6 months ago, right?
Prior to this Saturday. Not like I'm not going to all of a sudden be like, "Holy shit, guys, we got this quarterback. I'm not sure if you'd heard about him yet. Like he might be good." So no, it doesn't make for good headlines or good clips of cutting, a minute here, and Dave says that if Sorsby's great, you may as well go ahead and buy your tickets to the CFP or whatever. Like,
now it's Jerry World for the Big 12 championship, right? Like,
yeah,
we're going to the chip. Nobody talked about that in the American because nobody cared.
Nobody cared because we just won it all the time, so we just had another home game, or at least at the end. I shouldn't say all the time. I don't want
Right.
anybody. I don't want any hospitality
Don't-
people coming after me.
Or Memphis fans.
It was funny though today. Totally off subject, but I was on the phone booking a hotel room through Hilton and got transferred to someone. We were talking, and she said that she was in Orlando, and I almost asked her if she went to UCF.
What year did you graduate from UCF?
Yeah, I should have said that, but I didn't. But anyway, but no. To your point, like I don't know. It's it is what it is. It's a spring game. They're gonna run 100 and something plays. There's gonna be dudes
Right.
coming in and out on offense and defense. Like you're standing maybe in the end zone and you can see the offense, but it's tough to tell who's in on defense. And if he plays great. If he plays terrible, I mean, it's not worth nothing. I will say that. Like, I'm not going to totally just dismiss it one way or the other, good, great, or terrible. But again, it's hard to really take a ton from it and like put your fist down and say and have a definitive, like, I'm standing on this
Again,
tape.
unless Sorsby goes 23 for 23 for
Right.
280 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, then I'll be looking for hotel rooms the first weekend in December in Dallas.
I'll be booking another van.
Yeah.
The van trips are the way to go, Dave. That van trip was phenomenal.
Clearly.
It was awesome. We had so much fun.
So
yeah.
the weather looks wonderful. That's always a bonus. For Saturday, it looks like we're going to get all this rain the next couple of days, and then it's going to be nice. Hopefully, a lot of people come out, and I do think the roster does seem to be in a much better place. And I hope people have a chance to. I hope they play well. I hope guys play well and showcase that. And I think Tyson Veit is a very fun coach to watch coach, and I'm very hopeful that he makes a tangible difference for the defense. He has a stellar track record.
I love watching him coach, Dave.
Oh yeah,
I love it. Like, people go back to like Narduzzi and how Narduzzi was like constantly high energy. Veit has, like, he can turn it down a little bit more, but he turns it up just as loud as anybody I remember.
Right. And you have to take all of that into account too. Like, again, we've had 15 practices in a brand new defense with a ton of new guys.
Right.
Like, there's no way they're going to be in the same position they're going to be 4 months from now or 6 months from now in the middle of the season. Like, so again, very hard to take a ton away from the game. I think you can take something away from what you see from freshmen in the sense of just the belonging and this dude looks a little out of place. He's probably got a year or two to go. This dude looks like he could, I won't go as far as to say like contribute, but like he could be a special teams guy. He could be a spot guy here and there. Like, I think you can kind of gauge that.
Yeah,
from a game like this, because they'll have so many opportunities for one that they won't get. More than likely, they won't get once the season gets rolling, and even at higher ground, like they're going to get opportunities in higher ground, but it's going to be 3s on 3s, not in this type of situation.
I'm gonna tell you, Dave. I've had more freshmen catch my eye this year than I can remember in a while.
That would be great. Makes me wonder a little bit about the guys above them, because they shouldn't be doing that. Maybe they're that good.
No, but I'm talking about when they're on the field,
right?
They're I remember I had the same observation on Jonathan Thompson, and it wasn't that the linebackers in front of him were bad, because when he got here, the linebacker core was very good. It was just more when this kid is on the field, he's around.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a propensity for being around the ball and being effective. So I'm not saying I think, like, we talked enough about Simeon Coleman, I think, where he's a guy that even if it's not this year, we're starting to feel pretty good that he's a piece long term.
And I'm going to be frank, like I would be stunned if it was this year.
I don't think he's going to be a starter. I don't think he's going to play a ton, but I think he's going to put them in a position where they have to make a decision. Are we really not going to play this guy any?
Right.
No, I think he's got a chance. He'll play hopefully on a lot of special teams.
Right.
And
that to me, that is just such a jump from high school to playing linebacker in the Big 12 as like an 18,
I agree. And I'm not saying he's going to come in and be like, No,
I know what you're saying. That you're not saying like September, whatever, he's lining up, calling the defense week 1 against whoever the hell, I don't even know who we're playing. But even like getting some like maybe in blowouts or whatnot, but like even being like the starters are 2 series on, then you're like that to me would even be a pretty big surprise. You just don't see it. Regardless of, I mean, even the elite of the elite don't see those type of guys coming in as freshmen and playing.
Right. So, but what I am trying to say is, of this freshman group, I am noticing a lot of guys being like catching my eye. Not necessarily that they're better than the guy ahead of them, or okay, like Zaravion Johnson, Gravy has made plays. Jaquan Sanks has made plays. Willie Goodwin has made plays.
And that's the thing I think you want to see from
Woodburn has made
freshmen,
a shit ton of plays.
From freshmen, regardless of how they're doing the lineups, is like just whether it's against other freshmen or like just make play. I want to see can you make a play. Like, are you a total non-factor whatsoever? Like you're so far away that you're not even like showing up in.
And that's what I'm getting at is like Gavin Grover and Devin Zahersky. Like they brought 10 guys in. Samaj Jones. They brought 10 guys in. Most of them have at least garnered your attention at some point this spring. And that is not always been the case. That is not always been the case. I can tell you that. Real quick, touching on a lot of other stuff. Baseball, big series this weekend for baseball.
Yeah.
Coming off, look, TCU was ranked as high as number 5. They have not had great success in Big 12 play, but that was the favorite to win the league. Now you're going to an Oklahoma State team that's in the top 25 in the rankings, in the top 25 in the metrics. They're on the road, so going to be a little tougher than at home. I don't expect them to sweep. They might not win the series, but go get one here and hopefully give yourself a chance on Sunday, like split Friday, Saturday. Give yourself a chance on Sunday to win the series. I think they're tied for 3rd in the Big 12 right now. Dave?
I think so.
I'm crazy. I'm going to say this again in a minute. I'm starting to think the Jordan Bishel hire was a really good one.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly appears that way early. I mean, I don't know the makeup of I follow on Twitter and have turned a couple games on this past weekend.
They seem aggressive. They seem like they play.
So I don't know the makeup of like the roster as far as ages and stuff, but I mean they can hit.
Yeah.
I mean that seems pretty apparent. They can hit.
Marty, these guys are gonna hit.
Is that
is
Jerry Narin, baseball guy?
That's my Jerry Narin. Marty. Jerry, your team is hitting 082 over the last 2 weeks with 4 RBIs and 14 losses. Marty, these guys are gonna hit.
Yeah,
But
so these guys seem like they can hit. We'll see if they can pitch on the road. And
they've been, look, I thought they were going to be in a lot of like slugfests. This pitching has held up better than I anticipated so far.
Yeah.
They've had their days, and that's college baseball. Like,
sure.
what was the Miami score
20
the other night?
23, 20,
22,
or something.
21 or 23, 22, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have days in college baseball where the other team just looks like, oh boy, I'm going to really date myself, Dave. Remember the Bugs Bunny cartoon where it's all Bugs Bunny dancing around the bases?
I don't think I do.
You don't? Oh, Dave.
I don't know, man. I'm sure I've seen it, but
yeah. Anyhow, I knew I was going to date myself. As soon as it popped in my head, I was like, I don't even know if I want to say this one, but I'm gonna. So yeah, they got something building in year one of the Georgia
sure for the first year. I mean, let's be real. The first year, for the Bearcats in the Big 12 across the board has not gone that great. It's been a challenge more times than not. And well, I don't even know. Were they like halfway through the Big 12 schedule?
Roughly, I think, yeah.
So, halfway through, you're right in the mix. I don't follow the sport in general, but I imagine if you're halfway, you're kind of like in the middle of the pack towards the front of the Big 12, that probably puts you in some scope of like the NCAA tournament. So the Big 12, I think, is one of the three best leagues with the SEC and the ACC. So if you're
the SEC and ACC are above the Big 12, the Big 12 is third.
So if you're in the front half or thereabouts in the league, you're probably getting there's probably some discussion about you as a potential tournament team.
Yeah, I think our guy Tim Adams, I think, posted something that they had them as whatever projections that he looks at for the tournament had them as one of the teams like right on the outside looking in.
Okay. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Probably.
Sorry.
I tried to take Will to the game on Saturday or on Sunday, and we get in the car after swim, and I'm like, "Do you want to go to the baseball game?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." And then I'm like, 5 minutes later, or whatever. I'm like, "You want to go?" No, don't want to go. Okay, whatever. So we get home, and it's like game started at noon. It's like 12:45. I want to go to the game. I throw it on, and he's like, "I want to go to the game." I'm like, "Well, we're not going now." And then there was like a full meltdown about not being able to go to the game. Like, I asked you 2 hours ago if you wanted to go to the game.
Right. I was trying to make this a thing, you little brat.
So, yeah. So I'm sure we'll come out to a weekend game before the end of the year.
The other program, we don't have a lot to talk about yet. Let me just put my chips on the table that I'm very bullish on the first full off season of the Katrina Merriweather era.
Okay.
My phone's been buzzing tonight about women's basketball, Dave.
Who is blowing your phone up about women's basketball?
I'll explain it when we get done. I can't tell you on here.
I mean, I have a pretty good idea.
There's things happening both in the portal.
I could be 100% wrong, but I have an idea of who might be blowing up your phone.
No, actually, I think you are wrong. I think it'll surprise you who's blowing up my phone.
All right.
But I think there's a lot happening in the high school recruiting front. I think there's a lot happening in the portal recruiting front. And hopefully by the weekend, I hope to have
Clark is transferring to UC.
No. I hope to have some information that I can start sharing. We're getting close to Chad can share what he knows territory, just not all the way there yet.
Are we going to
We're
start
getting there.
covering UC women's basketball?
We might have to.
Well, that's always been the thing. Is it's not on us; it's on you. I'm not saying them specifically. Like,
Right.
well, if you give
We'll
us a
cover
reason
you.
to cover you, we'll cover you.
We just
started-
talked
We started
20 minutes about
covering
baseball.
men's golf last year because they were winning tournaments.
Right. We talked about baseball. If you win and you build interest, we will talk about it. It's very difficult. The problem is if it's a sport that not a lot of people are fans or like if there's not a lot of people following it, it's difficult to cover it properly, especially if they're struggling to win, because a lot of those times, like, we don't know the nuances of every game and every player. So we want to do it justice. And if you win, we're going to talk and we're going to know what we're talking about. So, yeah. Excited for baseball. Really excited for what's coming for women's basketball. Golf got off to a good start over the weekend. It sounded like they kind of lost some steam going into the final rounds.
Yeah, I didn't see how I didn't see how things shook out. I was my weekend was full of big time WrestleMania. So
yeah.
me and my guy Jeff from the brunch, we had a lot of WrestleMania talk this weekend. So
yeah, it was fun. It was I didn't watch. I was contemplating buying it Sunday.
you don't have to buy it. It's on Peacock. If you have Peacock, it's all free.
I don't think I have Peacock.
Oh, well, if you don't.
I think Kelsey. I think I might be paying for it for Kelsey.
You probably are paying for so many different streaming services that you have no idea about.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I mean that is the cool thing now is like all of the premium live events are just on Peacock, and you pay for Peacock, you don't have to pay for.
You know what I do have? I have Netflix, and it's coming to Netflix, right?
Well, that's the shitty part. Actually, is just Raw is coming to Netflix.
Oh,
all of
SmackDown
the
staying
other
on
stuff.
USA?
Well, I don't know. I think that might, but like the premium events, I think are staying on Peacock
Or Fox. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
SmackDown's on
It's
Fox,
it's
right?
confusing. It's not until 2025, so you have plenty of time to figure that out. But needless to say, it was a very very fun weekend. Like
That's what it should be.
almost every one of the fan favorites won. It felt like very much of like, hey fans, thank you for putting up with all of the shit that Vince McMahon did in the ring and apparently, outside of the ring over the last several years. Like, this is our token of appreciation to you. Like, we're going to have all the people that you want to win, and we're going to bring back a bunch of the old stars that everybody loves. And
Right.
it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. I enjoy the reaction videos on TikTok.
Oh, dude! When Undertaker's gong hit,
music hit, right?
that place went insane because everybody thought that Stone Cold was coming back.
Yeah.
So Undertaker coming back was like a true surprise.
If I were you,
lost their mind.
I would probably retire the sentence when Undertaker's dong hit.
Oh no! I said gong.
Oh, I thought you said dong.
Oh, why would I say that?
No.
No, but like the Shield music hit, and I went crazy because I thought Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, Cincinnati guy, was coming back, and everybody on Twitter thought the same thing. And then we were all like, "Well, wait a second, he can't unless they." Like worked out some deal where they pay in AEW or whatever, but like, because I mean that would have been awesome too. But no, it was just a lot of fun. They've left a lot of potential storylines to be open as this moves forward, and yeah, it was cool. Got to feel it's a fun thing. It should be fun. nobody I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do take it super seriously, but like, yeah, it was just a really good time. And
I think that's a different thing of wrestling in 2024 is like people, okay, now everybody's in on it. Everybody knows it's not real, but it's also real.
well, they are doing it. They are really trying to, right. And it's like, you know, it's fake. Like, yeah, jackass. I know it's not entirely real, but like, tell me about some of these moves these guys are doing, and then try to tell me that doesn't hurt. Like a dude did a
Right.
450 off the ropes Monday night, onto a guy through a table. Like, yeah, that hurt. I don't care how fake you say it is or whatever.
The Uso brothers jumping off the ramp.
Oh yeah, that hurt. Like
25 feet in the air.
Speared him off a ramp through 2 tables.
Yeah, that hurts. Does not feel good.
So,
My brother is a big time. He's actually leaving. Did I tell you he's leaving? I think Tuesday.
No,
he's going to Japan. He's going to New Japan for like a month.
Nice.
Staying at the dojo, the New Japan dojo. They're flying him out and covering all the shit, and so he's like, that's for a guy that's been working to get into the wrestling world for a long time.
Yeah,
get to go over there and do that's pretty cool.
But they're very much pushing away from like the sports entertainment and saying professional wrestling. Like this is just like this is our version of professional baseball, professional. Like this is the pros of what we do, and it's not sports entertainment anymore. Like we're getting away.
We might
from
know
the
who's
shtick
going to
of,
win
like,
the match, but it's going to be the path to the end is going to be very real.
I mean, that's like there were some things that happened that like 3 people knew were going to happen. Like it is very much a not a this whole like orchestrated thing as much as it used to be.
All right, let's get out of here. That's going to wrap it up. We will see. I will see everybody tomorrow night. If you see me, make sure you say hello. My sidekick will be there, and not Keegan and Reagan. I mean Kelsey. Come by and say hello, and then spring game Saturday should be a big weekend on campus and a lot of happenings for the Bearcats. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks to Dave Simone. Thanks to producer extraordinaire Aaron Smith. We will see you next time. That is the BCJ Podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.